I'm sure most of you have been in top tier games where you basically play for the entire game and then you end up looking at the scoreboard towards the end of the match and you see that 4 of your teammates are in free SBAs, basically doing nothing, sitting in spawn, and just being annoying to you and probably also the enemy team's cast, because these guys wouldn't be there if it was the case that there was no free SBA. In today's video, I'm going to be diving down into the problem of the free SBAs. I have a lot of data on them at the moment, which I've collected over 40 games, and I've written down a bunch of the SBAs which I met in game. Now, the main reason why I wanted to do this is because I myself and a few other people, some other creators as well, have been complaining quite a lot about the free SBAs. And in this video, I will also be sharing the opinion of another creator, which you guys might know, called Corb. He is kind of the face of CAS on YouTube. He does a lot of CAS content, and he has shared his opinion with me and is very willing to share with you guys as well. The way I gathered this data is I went into 40 plus games, and I sat there for the entirety duration of the game. I wrote down every single SPA that spawned in, what SPA they were in, and what level they were, and wrote it down in a spreadsheet. I also asked some of them for some reasons, some of them gave answers, which we'll go into later, but generally speaking, it is a pretty simple process. It just took a very long time. So let's start looking at 9.7. Now things start pretty well here. Most of the SPAs around this BR were actually owned. In some games, like the very first game I actually played for this recording or statistical research, I guess, was a nuke game, which means a lot of free SPAs spawned in. But as you can see by these graphs, most of them were actually owned, being the blue part of the pillar. Of course, some of them were still free, and I expect people to spawn into this amount of free SPA in pretty much every single game, but it is kind of insane to still see the evolution of it compared to the later BRs. Jumping up to 10.7, you can already see a huge shift in everything. With the Russian team, not a lot of people spawn into the free SPAs. This is mostly due to the fact that Russia at 10.7/11.7 is really strong. This means that either your team stomps the entire enemy team immediately and they have no spawn points left and they spawn into free SPAs, or your entire team gets stomped and just leaves after one death. Because this is the Russian premium BR with a T80UD, T72 terms, 2S38, and if you get a full up tier, the BMPT as well. You can see on the Russian side, most of the SPAs were owned. There was very few free SPAs, but when we go against Russia, there were so many free SPAs, with 2 games hitting 6 free SPAs in each of them, and 1 game even having no owned SPAs at all. The ratio to free to owned SPA is like 2-to-1. It is pretty crazy already at 10.7 seeing these results. And yeah, like the fact that it's going to get crazier than this, and we'll also look at some numbers about the most used SPAs and how many of them were free and stuff. And honestly, I'm shocked that this mechanic is still in the game. Alright, moving on to 11.7. With Russia, we played 5 games as per usual, and as you can see, the ratio is fine. There is still a lot of free SPA, and there is way too many. In game 5, not a single SPA spawned in, and this was due to the team just folding immediately and basically not being there. They folded straight away, no SPAs needed to spawn in because the game ended in about 7 minutes. And against Russia, having to counter the Russian cast at around this BR, SU-25s, SU-27s in a full up tier. There's a lot of scary casts here. You can see how many free SPAs spawned in. It is like insane how many free. 1 owned spawned in every single game, and other than that, we have game 4 where 5 free SPAs spawned in. Games 2 and 3 where 3 free SPAs spawned in, and then game 5 where 1 free SPA spawned in. Now here I'm going to start looking at 12.7 against Russia first. As you can see, a lot of free SPA. We had 6 free SPA in the first game, then 7 in the second game, and then 3 in the other 3 games. In total, over these 5 games, only 7 owned SPAs spawned in, which is quite crazy. And now we get to 12.7 with Russia. This is kind of insane. You can see game 1 and 2 and 3 are kind of fair. There were a lot of owned SPAs and not that many free SPAs. But once we move on to game 4, game 5, where there was 7 free SPAs, Game 6, where there was 2 free SPAs and not a singular owned SPA. Game 7 with 5 free SPAs, and Game 8 with 7 free SPAs. Now, I will go into in a bit the numbers of what these free SPAs were, but let me tell you, it is incredibly dumb how many of them were Pensiers, ADATs, all of that stuff. The fact that I had a game, which is Game 8, with 10 SPAs in total, and I did count backups, not if they spawned into, let's say, an owned SPA and an owned SPA. I only counted backups if they spawn into a free SPA and then an owned SPA, or an owned SPA and then a free SPA. The fact that there were 10 SPA in one game with Russia just shows that the free SPA problem is like insane. I was getting stressed out when I had to write all this down because I had to go into every single profile, check their levels, all that stuff. It was like insane. Now I just want to show you which levels actually use the free and owned SPAs. As expected, levels 1 to 25 use majority, or not majority, only free SPAs, with 5 of them being spawned in, which is fair enough. The lowest level ever recorded was spawned in at level 5. That was a Florograd. You can see as we go up into levels, it starts matching the owned one, but at levels 76 to 99, it is exactly 50-50, and it's also exactly 50-50 at level 100, which means half of the players probably don't have the AA line grinded, which is insane to me. You don't even need to grind the AA line anymore. Something like the Panzer S1, which is one of the most used free SPAs in this research, is capable of being 12.3 in my opinion. Now let's check out the top vehicles usage rate versus free rate. So this is basically how many times were they used and how many of the times that they were used were they free. So if a vehicle was used 10 times and 9 of them were free, it's going to hit 90%. At the bottom of the list, we see the 2S6 with 8 games, 8 different SPAs, which were noted down, and 50% of them were free. A bit higher, we see the Lavad 7 and 4 of them were free. We see the Missile Shoka, where 6 of them were and around 4 of them were free. And then we move up to the way crazy ones. XM975, 6 of them were recorded, 5 of them were free. Panzer S1, 29 were recorded, 86% of those were free. And the exact same number with the ADATs, 29 recorded, 86% is free. This means 25 free Panzers and 25 free ADATs in games at 11-7, 11-7, 12-7, 12-7. Now let's take a look at the one I haven't talked about yet, the Florograd. This one was spawned in 11 times, and every single time it was spawned in, it was free. Now keep in mind, they could have had it, in their attack tree, researched, bought, and maybe played a few times. I did not check their account for it, but they still spawned into the free SPA. 11 times it was spawned into. Every single one of them was free. This is crazy to me. The Florograd, of course, being probably, in my opinion, the worst top tier SPA, or not top tier, high tier SPA, around like 11-7 to 12-0, with only 2 missiles that needing to reload, and, it is kind of annoying to use. But 11 times spawned in and 11 times free is kind of insane. Now, let's take a look at some of the reasons why people spawn into these free SPAs. A level 42 said, why not? And so did a level 95, and so did a level 100. These guys spawn into Panzers, and a Florograd, all free. Level 100 said he needed more points, and at level 70 said he needed to complete a mission. He did not own any SPAs that he wanted to use, so he was going to use it for a mission, which I believe is fair enough. A level 100 who spawned into the Panzer S1 for free said he was using it for research to research the BUK. Even though he spawned in it for free instead of just crewing the Panzer and using that, which would give him more research in the end. Either way, he was using it for research. 2 people who I asked said they spawned into it for revenge. These were both on the American side, with the XM975 and the ADATs, one being level 100 and one being level 59. One person said he was waiting for a friend, which I believe is totally fair enough. That makes the most sense out of any of the answers. That's probably also when I would have spawned into a free SPA if I wasn't going to spawn into one. Now let's talk about the guy who kind of is the cast face of YouTube, Corb. If you guys don't know him, he does a lot of cast content on YouTube, and he is quite good at it. He's also complained publicly about free SPAs being a problem, and I'm just going to run over what he said to me. Corbs says he believes that the free SPA is a huge problem for all the BRs that even gets it, so from 9.3 all the way up to 13.0. The main problem is that people can spawn into an anti-air, which is perfectly good enough to kill any aircraft without actually having to grind it. Especially at top tier, this is a huge issue, he says. Killing a tank and then immediately being able to spawn into an anti-air without them actually owning it is completely BS. Potentially, you could face a team with 16 Panzer S1s, while all of them just owned like the T80 one, which is like insane. Corb also says it also ruins the way which Gaijin balances their vehicles, since some people spawn as these SPAs without having any idea of how to actually use them. Something like the Panzer S1 could easily be 12.3. However, because it gets spawned into free so much and it gets such a bad KD, which Gaijin does like set a lot of their BRs from KD, it's just going to stay at 12 for the foreseeable future. Another problem is also the anti-air imbalance, he says. While top tier nations, like the NATO nations, get the ADATS automatic, ITO, and the Flaragrad, Russia gets the Panzer S1, which is currently the second best anti-air for dealing with helis. Generally speaking, this is because the missile is so fast, and it is also very, very maneuverable. And he also says at BRs around 10.0 to 11.0, Russia gets something like the Strela or 2S6, while the USA either gets the Lavad or XM975, which is clearly not fair. The Strela is a lot better than the Lavad, and the 2S6 is also a lot better than the XM975. The proposal that Corbs gives to fix this issue is honestly a pretty good one, and I've kind of been thinking about the same thing before he sent me this message. But let me read it out for you. Corb is essentially saying that you should move every single one of the SPAs up one rank. So let's say you're playing 10.7 Russia. Instead of getting the 2S6 or the Strela, what you would normally get, give them the Missile Shoka instead. This way, there is actually an incentive to grind the SPA line and actually get an AA for your lineup, instead of just using an AA which you could normally take in your lineup. The same goes for 12.0. Instead of getting the Panzer, you could get the 2S6, which is not as effective at killing every single aircraft, but it shouldn't be, because it's free. You should just be able to maybe kill one plane, intercept some munitions, which the 2S6 is perfectly good at. And like Corb says, it is good enough to have an impact on the match, because you can kill a plane, you can kill a heli, you do have the guns, you can also rush ground. It just makes, like, it's so much simpler. Just remove all the top tier SPAs, the Panzer, the ADAS, the Flaragrad. Even though the ADAS and the Flaragrad are not on the Panzer's level, it is still annoying facing an entire team of these, especially the ADATs, because the missile is an anti-tank missile. It is able to kill pretty much any tank. Like BMPTs, I know is an OP vehicle, but it is able to just get shredded frontally by the ADATs because of the missile. Also, if a lot of you want to see the spreadsheet, I can leave it in the description of the video. But basically what I'm trying to say with this video is, please, Gaijin, fix this. Do something to fix it. What me and Corb said is honestly probably the best solution you could do if you want to keep the free SPA in the game. I would say almost remove it entirely, because it is so dumb. Having, especially if you're playing like 10-7 against Russia or against any other nations against the Strela, having potentially like just 5 Strela spawn in without them actually owning it is kind of annoying. So yeah, at this point, let's just give top tier Russia free SU-30 SM2s, I guess. Why not give America like B-52s at 7.0 as well? Yeah, I mean, it's getting to a point now. So yeah, that was it for this video. Please do leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
And it's a part of me that I can't even get to miss. Laying like some sardines, it hurts me just to reminisce. That PTSD from pulling on my heartstrings. I'll be outside with $1 for your art, please. And I know this is a hard part on your heartstrings, but I know you feel it when you